of what I think is going to happen. And the aide said, you know, Congressman, she's talked about Afghanistan before. We know you're an expert on that, but she can't see it today. You know, she's a very busy person. But if you come over tomorrow at 3 o'clock, she will talk to you, and I will put you on the schedule. So I was on the schedule at 3 o'clock to talk to Condoleezza Rice to warn her of an imminent major terrorist attack. That's what the schedule says. That was the day that I was supposed to meet her was 9/11. That day, the planes began flying into the buildings at 8:45. So on that horrible day, 9/11, I understood what was happening, and I immediately began to provide information and contacts to the CIA, Defense Department, and National Security Council. The team who had helped me during the years organizing an anti-Taliban coalition was now brought to play to help America plan its counterattack. Charlie Santos, a confidant of Afghan Uzbek leader General Dostum, was a treasure house of information and direction for our government and part of my team during the years before. Al Santoli on my staff ended up talking directly via satellite cell phones to village and tribal leaders. One of them, for example, was so-called warlord Ismail Khan, thus paving the way for the injection of our Special Forces troops. Paul Berkowitz, who now works for me, then working for Chairman Ben Gilman, opened doors throughout the administration. Paul Behrens, a Marine major, a former member of my staff who'd been in Afghanistan with me and knew the players in the territory, was there to help. And Dusty Rhodes, an expert from the intelligence community who was on my staff at the time and had very special skills that were incredibly important to helping us determine how to proceed. I have never sought much credit for the small but significant contribution my team made after 9/11. It's like that saying that Reagan had framed on his desk. There's no limit to what a person can accomplish if he doesn't care who gets the credit. Well, our military originally wanted to send in heavy American Army divisions into Afghanistan, basically what we did in Iraq. They would be supplied by depots located in the northwestern provinces of Pakistan, where that invasion would have been staged from. It would have been a disaster had we done that. The northwestern provinces are the most anti-American territory in the world, which right now people are struggling against Taliban control of those areas. Our team managed to convince America's decision makers to come at Afghanistan from the north through Uzbekistan, and most importantly, to let our Afghan coalition do the fighting. Most of those making this decision and which way to go, whether to send in the big heavy divisions or not, had never even heard of Tarmez, or which is an Uzbek city on the Afghan border that later served as our staging area. They had, of course, never been at the northwest provinces, nor did they know about the strategically important Afghan city of Mazar Sharif, which later turned out to be pivotal in the defeat of the Taliban. I had been to those cities, I had been to those places, and our little team knew the territory and the forces at play, and luckily, some high-level decision makers at the DOD and the CIA, and yes, the National Security Council, listened to us. Too many Americans don't fully appreciate the fact that it was an army of Afghans, and that was called the Northern Alliance, that defeated the Taliban and drove them out of their country. Only about 200 U.S. military personnel were there at the time. Only 200 men. Boots on the ground? Yes. Only 200 men were there of American military personnel. And we gave the Northern Alliance the financial support and supplied them the arms and the ammunition and, most importantly, the air cover they needed to defeat the Taliban. We also promised to rebuild their country. And that's how the Taliban, who were immensely more powerful then than they are today, that's how they were defeated after 9/11. So 7 years have passed, and it appears now that America is pulling defeat out of the jaws of victory. American political restructuring and military firepower has not been working, and it should be of no surprise that it's not working. We can defeat any army and dislodge any tyrant or regime. We cannot conquer or subjugate a people. Once we are viewed as occupiers, not liberators, we lose. The people of Afghanistan are devout Muslims. Yet after 9/11, large numbers of them came to our side and fought against and defeated the Taliban and Al-Qaeda Muslim extremists. Oh my, how history repeats itself. After promising to rebuild their war-torn country after the victory of over the Taliban, we then, instead of keeping our word, moved on and committed ourselves to freeing Iraq from the Saddam Hussein dictatorship and helping those people. That commitment dramatically undercut our ability to make the kind of effort and expenditure of resources that the brave Afghan people had a right to expect at that time. Well, they fought the Russian army and helped end the Cold War. And it was an enormous price that they paid to do that. Then after 9/11, they joined us again to fight radical Islam's grip on their country, which had been used as a base camp for the 9/11 attack that slaughtered 3,000 Americans. The Afghans are brave and honorable people. We have to do justice by them. We have to yet pay back this debt that we still owe them. Instead, over the years, we have sent our military with its incredibly sophisticated weapons into Afghanistan. When the Taliban were driven out, 90% of the Afghans loved us, and they were doing the fighting against the extremists. Now, years later, our troops are doing the fighting, and the heart of the Afghan people is turning against us. Afghanistan is a country of 4,500 villages. Each has a militia. Either the villages are with us or they are against us. We've made the age-old mistake of thinking this society of villages and fiercely independent people can be pacified and controlled by our forces or those in a central authority in Kabul. Trying to impose central government power on these villages rather than approaching them as friends who are there to help has turned friend into foe, ally into enemy. We can defeat a foreign army, be it a German or Japanese military power of World War II or a Republican Guard of Saddam Hussein. We cannot defeat the country of Afghanistan. We cannot occupy or control its people. We can be their friend, and if we do so, we will win. If we attempt to use our military might to force an outcome based on control and pacification of a vast and inhospitable countryside, we will eventually lose. 4,500 villages will be with us or against us. They will be with our enemy, radical Islam, or they will be against it. Just as I was in a position to influence enormously important decisions after 9/11, I believe I'm here at this moment to try again to influence a decision that will have horrendous negative consequences if not made with an understanding of Afghanistan and its people. Today, we are facing a decision to send or not to send 35,000 more combat troops into Afghanistan. 35,000 more troops, by definition, means Americans will do more fighting. It is a wrong strategy, a strategy that will not work and will cost too much financially and cost too much in terms of the lives of our military personnel. A better plan is to re-earn the loyalty of these brave and long-suffering people. Afghan children are the most beautiful kids in the world, but this country has the world's third highest infant mortality rate. It tears at the heart and soul of these people that they're losing their children. Let's help them change that. The money needed to finance sending 35,000 more combat troops into Afghanistan is a mind-boggling $35 billion, that's billion dollars per year. A commitment of even a small portion of this would bring life-elevating progress throughout that land of 4,500 villages. It would win the goodwill of those villages and their militias. After that, they could become a real asset. They would be a real force against radical Islam. And yes, we need to rearm the loyalty and gain the loyalty of our Afghan allies. After 9/11, we disarmed the Northern Alliance. We need to rearm them, and we need to rebuild a solid friendship with those people. Building a central army, however, in Kabul is not the way